Okay, guys, I'm Mallory Brooks. This is my husband, Jason Brooks. We've got Amanda here working the mobility workout in her kids' parking lot, or like a park next to it, which is so super cool. So let's get started. We are going to start with the uber most basic stuff, and don't think that basic is necessarily beginner because I always go back to this. It's just to like kind of get the foundations and the general movement. Once you can learn these really simple moves, then we can start getting fancy and add all sorts of really fun stuff to it. But let's start with I always start with spine. So start with just like a basic squat stance. A basic squat stance is always going to be feet underneath the hips, underneath the shoulders. So you have this like perfect rectangle. And I talk about this rectangle a lot because it checks that a shoulder's not dropped or you're not tilted forward and there's not some kind of funky rotation. It's just a vertical spine and loose knees. So start with, you can have shoes on or shoes off. I am a fan of shoes off because it just wakes up the feet and we're so used to wearing shoes all day. So start with the feet flat, left hand reaches forward, squat down, reach. When you come up and over the head, imagine that finger is like, the hand is like a blade going over the head, trying to open up the core. Squat forward, reach that same arm up and over the head. So go through 6 of these. It's like just enough to get you warmed up, but not enough that you're gonna get super tired of this thing. And the idea is to just round the back. So from the side, it looks like this, arched back, rounded back. And you'd think normally this is like bad posture to round the back because normally we squat with a flat back. But you're not lifting weight, you're just trying to move the spine. So as much curvature as you can get in that spine, the better. 6 on one side, 6 on the other side. The other one is just going to be a fresh arm reaching forward, a fresh arm reaching back. But ultimately, as far as the ankles, the knees, the hips, and the back are concerned, you're doing the exact same thing. We're going to start doing different planes of motion for this, and it will make a bigger impact on which arm is leading because of how much we're going to be leaning to the side or rotating to the side. So 6 of each of those. Then we're going to go through a plank series. So everything we're doing is on the same plane of motion, and then we'll go back through it on a different plane of motion. So I do feet together, chin to the chest because it stretches out all these lower back muscles, and try to keep the chin to the chest as long as you can while you dive forward. And then slowly walk the hands out to a plank or walk the feet back to a plank or a combination of the two. So in a plank from the side, you're going hips drop, chin up, hips up, heel drop. Go through 10 of those. It should just feel good. Hip drop, arch the back, shift the weight back to the heels, press the shoulders down. So it should feel like this is a big stretch for the lower back, for the abs, and it's mobility for the shoulders. So it's waking up the wrists, waking up the shoulders. Now just to make it even more complex, start thinking about the breathing. So inhale, open up the chest, chin up. Exhale, drive the heels down, stretch at the back of the leg. And I say 10, I really mean like 8 to 12. If you do 8, that's great. If you're loving this, get in a couple extra. Sometimes by the 8th one, you're just like, I'm done with that move, thank you. And then walk the hands back to the feet. Stand up super slowly, and we'll go through those 2 things again with just a different plane of motion. So you're back to that squat stance, starting with the left hand reaching. Imagine you're like your little teapot and you're just tilting to the left, squat down, lean, and then up and over the head, bring the bicep to the ear, reach over the head, or crawl the right hand down the right leg. Go through 6 of those. Squat, lean, overhead reach. So my knees are bent for the touchdown, and then my legs straighten out for that side reach. So from the side, it looks like this. Squat, reach, overhead, lean. 6 of those. I was trying to imagine that there's this wall in front of me so that I don't tilt forward. That's just a collapse in the back. Nice job. Same thing. I have a tack on the ground. Same thing on the other side. Fresh hand, fresh lean. 6 of those. It's the right hand going down, right hand going overhead. And move at your own pace. For some people, it feels really good to go fast, or you just feel really open already. If you've just gotten off a run, you'll feel a little warmer. And you can kind of ease into these spinal movements a little quicker. 6 of those. Then we'll go back through your plank. So feet together, chin to the chest, roll back down, walk the hands out to a plank. So from the side, you're gonna go wide stance for the feet. So now the feet are wider than shoulder width apart. Right hip goes to the right, left hip goes to the left. And you're not dipping the hips. Just imagine somebody pushes on that hip and shifts you over, pushes on the hip and shifts you over. Hip shift, hip shift. 10 each way. Arms are straight, but the elbows are a little bit bent. The more the elbows can be bent, the more you rely on the muscles and less just on the skeleton. The skeleton's a fine thing to rely on at certain times, but right now, if you're just trying to get stronger, it makes more sense to rely on the muscles. So 10 of those each way, and then walk the hands back to the feet, stand up slowly, and we'll go through that again in a different plane of motion. So back to your squats. Feet rooted down, start with the left hand. Left hand's gonna reach around to the right ankle, touch down, and then you're gonna open up, go left, do your left hand. Left hand opens up. Left hand squat, reach down to the right heel. Open the left fingertips up, and it should feel like now it rotates around and stretches out that chest and shoulder. 6 of those. So that right arm is just hanging out. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Left arm is just leading. We call these kind of things your driver. So right now my left hand is my driver. It's what's guiding the movement. It's what's leading the spine into that rotation. It's not actually moving, it's just moving through space. There's no movement in the joint necessarily of the fingers or hands, but it's what's leading that rotation around. It's easier to have this visual of get your fingers over here than it is to say rotate your spine. It's an easier thing to think about moving through space. So 6 of those, and then we'll go back through your plank. So back to the plank, feet together. We always go into plank like this. Feet together, chin to the chest, roll down slowly, walk out to the plank. Feet are now as wide as the hands are apart. Hands are as wide as the shoulder apart. Shoulders are apart. Bend the right knee and twist the right hip towards the ground. You can either bring the hip all the way down to the ground, or you can just bring it to where if there were like sweat dripping off your hip, it would be now dripping down onto the ground. You're doing 10 each way. And there's a lot of movement in the knees. 10 of these each hip. It should feel like it's requiring a lot out of the back. These are great. You could do this sequence every day. And then when you're done there, walk the hands back, stand up slowly, and we're gonna move on to a little bit more of the meat of the workout. So I'm gonna show you what you can do if you get to this workout for a second time in the week. Jason doesn't need to wait. He's gonna show you what to do the first week. So balancing on the left leg. First day, sorry. First day you do this, do what Jason's doing. If you manage to fit in another one during the week, add in a weight like I'm gonna show you. So Jason's gonna balance on the left foot, reach his right fingertips down to the ground, and then reach the right hand up to the ceiling and reach the right toe forward. So you're going fingertips down to the ground, down to the toes, reach the right arm up, toes forward. Go through 10 of those. If you've done this and it feels good, now you're going through this single arm reach, overhead press. And even just adding like a 5-pound weight can add a lot of resistance to this, because as I'm pressing up, I'm leaning back and trying to stabilize this weight overhead. So my weight is going down to the toe. I'm keeping it close to the body for this high row. Overhead press, lean back, reach the toe forward. 10, I'd say do 8 to 10 of these with the weight. If you're doing what Jason's doing, unweighted, definitely get through 10. The weight one will take you a little bit longer, and you'll do the same thing on the other side. 10. If you have the weight, same idea. If you want to just go ahead and jump into this, the weighted one first, go for it. But I would suggest at least starting with just like a 5-pound weight. Get used to how that weight shifts. Don't think about this as just go for a 30-pound weight and just see what happens, because the balance is more important What do I have here? I have a 12-pound weight. It feels rather heavy for this like lean back reach. 10 of what Jason's doing, or 8 if you're doing what I'm doing. Nice job. So for your next thing, we're gonna do leg swings. So Jason's gonna start off balancing on the left leg, and just imagine he's a hurdle to the side. So he's gonna lift the right leg up, swing it around to the side, oh, I'm gonna hit something, and bring it all the way back to neutral. So again, keeping that rectangle centered. So raise the right leg, swing it around, come all the way back. If this is the second week you're doing this, or if you wanna just try a little bit harder, when you bring it into that reverse, you're just going into a lunge. So that leg will swing forward, swing around, reverse lunge. Go through 10 of these. You're doing all 10 on that same leg. So either just the leg swing or leg swing and lunge if you want to try to add in a little bit of flair. You can always add resistance to this and just hold a weight in that left hand. I would suggest keeping it asymmetrical, especially because if I had a weight right now in my right hand, my leg would be hitting it. If you want to add just a little bit of weight to that reverse lunge, it won't help to add weight to what Jason's doing because he's just standing there. But if that second time this week that you're able to do this, you want to add a weight to that left hand when your left foot is staying still, go for it. I would do the same thing on the right side with my left leg swinging. See if we can not hit each other. Stay controlled. So we're both trying to avoid leaning forward or leaning back to make up for that shift in weight. 10 of those on that other side. If you have a mirror, it's helpful because a lot of times you'll think you're even when you're not. 10 of those. I'll do one more and then we switch. All right, so going back through those two kind of combinations, we're going to keep changing things about them. But now you're going to balance on the left leg. Jason's going to reach the right arm across and tuck his leg, and then come back up to balance and pull the right shoulder around. So right fingertips go down, right leg tucks. He comes up to neutral, and like he's trying to like elbow somebody, just twist around. The lower half of the body stays still. That knee stays forward. I'm going to do a similar thing, reach the weight, but I'm just going to pull to a high row. So from the side, I'm here. So I'm reaching around, pull, high row with a twist. Reach. What Jason's doing, definitely get through 10 of those guys. If you have a heavier weight, you can cut it down to 8 if it feels like it would be too much to go through 10 of these. Again, I have a 12-pound weight that feels fine for this. 8 to 10 of these guys, big rotation. Always take the chin and eyes with you. So I'll be looking at you sometimes, but really I should be taking the chin and eyes with me and then coming back around. It's always going to challenge you to do the other, to bring your eyes with you. So same thing on the other side for me. Pull, twist. I have the weight in my left hand now. I'm balancing on the right foot. High row, big rotation. These are hard to do. I feel like we've been doing mobility for years and these are still challenging. You'll still see us
fall over,
wobbling. I always joke that it's windy. We can't really use that excuse. Amanda could. We're in a garage. There's no wind in here. All right, 8 to 10 of those. It should feel like you're in control of that pull around. Your obliques and lower back are what all pull you. So from the side, these muscles are just pulling you around. Upper back pulls you, and then they help just descend you to rotate back around. Super cool to think about. So now we're going back to these leg swings. Last time we did forward, side, back, easy enough. You're just switching directions. So now you'll go back, side, front, and fall down into a forward lunge. That leg goes back, side, front. Jason's not going to do the lunge. If this is the first week you're doing, first time this week you're doing it, you're just going to stick to these leg rotations. If you want a little bit more challenge, or if you're on the second time you've done this, you're gonna just add a weight and then add this forward lunge. Reverse swing, forward lunge. Go through 8 to 10 of those on each side. We're trying to keep the hips as still as possible. There's movement in the femur head up in the pelvis, but my pelvis isn't moving to get that leg around. All that movement is happening right here in the hip socket, not in the back, all right? Same thing on the other side. Back, side, front, forward lunge. Swing the leg back. I think at some point we're gonna hit feet. 8 to 10 of these. Again, if you have a mirror for this, it's great because you can see, or just on your, if you join on the Zoom video, you can see yourself. Keep the shoulders even. It's always helpful to add a weight to one side just to work on that asymmetry. So right now my left side is having to work harder to keep from just collapsing over to the other side. Okay, you guys should be more or less done with those. So let's go back to these single leg pickups. This time we're gonna bring everything to wrap around, and Jason's gonna try to touch fingertips to the toe and then all the way back up to neutral. So no rotation at the top because it's a big ask out of the bottom. So he's just trying to go fingertips to the toes, all the way back up. And I'm gonna do a similar thing. So heavy weight in the weight in the right hand. Everything's gonna come around. And when I get here, I'm just gonna do a curl to press. So I'm only coming back to neutral just like he is. Reach around to the toe, curl to press. Nice. So Jason's showing what you do the first time. If you go through a few rounds of these too, you could always do what he does the first time. Try what I'm doing the next time. Get these movements down and feel really solid first before you try to just go for bigger weights. When you do the other side, pretty simple switch, just fresh foot down, switch the weight to the other side. Everything's rotating around that balancing leg. The weight comes to the toe, curl to press. Or for Jason, for the first time you do this, you're just coming to neutral. Just show that your body has the strength to just correct everything back to that perfect rectangle. Nice job. Eight to 10 of those. Bend the knee, trust the leg. Focus on where you see instability. Do you feel like you're always rolling to the outside? Do you feel like you're always rolling to the inside? Do you feel like your heel's constantly coming up? You can't keep the heel rooted down? Those are all things to take note of and communicate with us about that, because there are certain exercises we can do to help fix that. Okay, so we're gonna go now and do hip opener. So go down, back down to your plank, which we've spent a little bit of time in, but we will do planks every week. So into your plank, holding here, arms straight, feet together, and we're just working on tapping the right foot up by the hands and return. Tap the right foot up and back. Yep. So regardless of what week you're doing, I would always start with this. Go through 10 on the right side. Sorry, what day? Regardless of when you're doing this, always start. There are not going to be two options for this. Always start with this because it's just showing the hip. This is how we're going to track. Good. 10. If you feel like you can't get the foot up there, you can always get yoga blocks or something to put the hands on to give you a little bit more room for that foot to come in. I just have like one of these with me. All right, so from there, you're just gonna bring the feet in and sit down. Tuck one knee in, kick one leg out, and you're just doing these little hip lifts. So we're just working on the outside of the hip. Now we're working on the front of the hip. Here's the trick. If you have a rounded back and this leg is going up and down, you're not doing anything. So imagine you just have to get pushed forward. You're up on the sit bones, like somebody's pulling your sternum forward, and you're just doing these little straight leg raises. Just go through 10 on one side, 10 on the other side. Easy enough. It should feel like it just wakes up the front of that leg. That heel is flexed, the leg is straight, and really just this very front of my hip is being asked to lift and lower that leg, which as runners we use a ton, but not to this degree, so it can feel really difficult. When you're done there, roll back over onto a plank. If this is the second time you're going through the workout, you can add a weight. So Jason's gonna go do left leg up and just pick up the hands back down, return, and do that same leg again. I'm gonna add just this little weight pickup. So I'm coming wide, pick up the weight, set it down, back down. You guys can see this. And it's just asking more out of that hip. Again, this is plenty. If you want to go through what Jason's doing again, I would do this exercise every day. I'm trying to put you guys through kind of the best of the best right now. Get you used to some of these movements before you get fancy. Same thing on the other side. 10, pick up the weight, or just lift the hands up off the ground. It's trying to get quiet in here as we're breathing heavy as well. Can only hide my out of breathness so much. 10 of those. Then you're going back to your seated position. Seated, one knee in, one leg out. This time that front leg, last time we went up and down, this time it's gonna swing out and in. So here's the trick. Your body is gonna want to do two things to help you out, but tell it not to. You don't wanna bend the knee and you don't wanna turn the leg out. So as you're getting tired, the leg will start looking more like this. You need it to be toes up and just swing out, back in. Go through 10. Again, feel like somebody's pulling that sternum forward, so you're way up on those sit bones. 10 on one side, and then switch. Same idea, 10 on the other side. Nice job. Flex the foot. The body's really smart. It will always try to find ways to cheat. I like to say it's just like an opportunist. It's just trying to figure out ways to help you out. You just have to say, it's okay, body. I know that that's an easier way to do this, but I'm going to go and do it this way to just strengthen, to really focus all the effort on this one little thing. All right. So now we're going to go into some core. So we're done with those two things for now. You'll see them later on. But for now, we're done with hip openers and with those little bitty movements for the hip. So now you're going to work on laying back, fingertips straight up towards the ceiling. And this is something I'm constantly working on. Imagine you cannot swing the wrist from over the shoulders. So it's easy to sit up if I bring the arms overhead and I swing the arms. It's hard if I just keep the arms reaching straight up towards the ceiling. So go through 10 like that. Again, this is one of those, it can be really easy if you swing the arms. It can be really hard if you do it just right. So just try to work on doing this for now. We're going to do sit-ups and little roll-ups. Sit-ups, then little roll-ups. So for the second round of sit-ups, I'm going to give you another option for how to make it a little bit harder. So after you've done 10 of those, you're going to stay laying back down, head relaxed, hands under the hips, knees tucked in. Jason's just going to do 20 of these little roll-ups. He's just trying to like pick the hips up, set them back down. Pick the hips up, set them back down. If this is the second time you're getting to this and you want to make it harder, just try to float the hips a little longer, and you're going through 15. So I'm doing fewer than he's doing, but they're a little slower. So my hips are going up, pause, roll back down. Hips are going up, pause. If you feel like you just can't get the hips up like this, you can hold onto something overhead that's heavier, and it will help to just root the upper half of the body down. So you can hold onto a kettlebell, a couch, a coffee table, a partner, a dog if it'll stay still. And that can end up kind of helping it. So 20 if you're doing them short and fast, 15 if you're adding that little pause at the top. And then we're going back to your sit-ups. So for the sit-ups, if this is the first time, you're just doing the same thing, but you're adding just a little rotation to the top. So you'll sit up, twist left, sit up, twist right. If this is the second time you're getting to it this week, you're gonna pull that knee in. So my left knee will come in, right knee will come in. I'm always twisting towards the knee that I'm pulling in. Almost like you're trying to get the knee up to the tricep. Still doing 10 of these, so we still have the same numbers. Mine's just gonna be a little harder because I'm picking up a foot. You can go through either one. We're just trying to give you, for the second workout of the week, a little different challenge. You guys have like 2 more minutes. Just hang in there a little bit. And then for the lifts, it's gonna be exactly the same. Jason's gonna have to go through 20 short and fast. I'll go through 15 slow with a pause, slow back down. Keep the knees tucked as tight as you can. Keep the heels as close to the glutes as possible. So you're just rolling the lower half of the body up, pause, return. 15 of these. This should feel hard on the abs. I think I do plenty of abs and this hurts every time.
I took a break.
15 slow or 20 fast. You have options. And then we'll roll over onto the stomach and stretch out the abs. Come up, chin up, open up the chest, eyes up. This should just feel good. Take some deep breaths there. And then go into child's pose. Reach the left hand through the arms. So you're bringing the left ear down to the ground. So you're getting some movement in the lower back. Come out of that slowly. Reach the right hand through, right ear to the ground. Rotation. Come out of that slowly. You're up on straight arms. Bring the knees up. And you can either walk the hands back to the feet or walk the feet up to the hands, however you want to end up with all 4 still on the ground. You can have the knees bent. Walk the hands around to the right heel and pull twist. Walk the hands around to the left heel, pull twist. This is the last thing you're gonna do. You should just feel it stretches out everything in the outside of the leg and the back of the knee, all those little fine muscles that got a lot of attention. Same thing, just a couple to each side. You'll know when you kind of want to get out of that stretch. Like you hold it, stretch it, feels good. Okay, now I'm done. Move to the other side. When you're done there, bend the knees and just roll up super, super, super slowly. Head's the last thing to come up. Roll the shoulders back, open up the chest. That's it. That's 20 minutes of mobility. It can be a workout. At least I'm sweaty. Thank you for joining us. Amanda, you're such a badass. This is super cool. I feel like no excuses. If you can't do it, if you say you can't do it, just look at Amanda trying to squeeze it in. So well done, guys. We'll be here every Tuesday. Ideally, you'll get this workout in twice per week. So we'll record it. We'll send you a link and you can just redo it again one more time this week whenever you're ready. And then next week we'll have brand new stuff. Cool? All righty. Bye, guys.